The crisis of the West is ongoing, and everybody knows what it is. In the circumstances of the United States, the prognosis for decay is well advanced. The people who created the United States are on the defensive. They're on the defensive psychologically, and emotionally, and linguistically, and culturally. The enemies that we face here in the West are internal. They're internal to our own societies. They're even internal to our own minds. The grammar of self-intolerance is what we have imposed and allowed others to impose upon us. Political correctness is a white European grammar which we've been taught. And we've learnt it to such a degree that we can't have an incorrect thought now without a synapsis or a spasm of guilt. Every time we think of a self-affirmative statement, it's undercut immediately by the idea that there's something wrong or something queasy or something quasi-genocidal or something not quite right or something morally ill about us if we have that thought. Mass immigration into Britain began with the Nationality Act in 1948, which was passed by the Attlee government. And Attlee, who was the then Labour Prime Minister, in a landslide victory that Labour won immediately after the Second World War, said that if the races of the world are mixed together, there will be no more war. If the races of the world are mixed together, there will be no more war. And he took that idea from the colonial movement, the anti-colonial movement of the 1920s and the 1930s. What you get instead is you get the internalisation of divisions inside societies instead of between them. So all that happens is the group dynamics, which were nation-state oriented and national in the past, in the last 3 to 5 centuries, shall we say, become internal. Because human competition and the dynamics of group difference are such that they will always exist, no matter what you do. They will exist inside multiracial schools. They will exist within multi-ethnic housing developments. They will exist inside multiracial cities. And they will certainly exist within multiracial societies. What then happens is that each group creates a vanguard that negotiates with the other groups about how big a slice of the pie that they get. And the future politics of societies like the United States is the negotiation that occurs electorally and between elections between the groups. The idea that identifying with yourself and with your own past is somehow immoral is one of the chief factors whereby the identity of post-European people in the United States has been turned back upon themselves, turned back in a vice-like constriction where it can be used to destroy people and to disarm them. The prospect of white Republicans being elected, except to lower levels, probably decreases with each year of demographic change in the United States. Think what it'll be like when white Americans are 10% of the population of the United States, or 12%, or 15%, or even 25%. Political correctness will not save you from the marginalisation of your history and traditions which will occur. Because it's not much fun being a minority, which is why all minorities seek, through their vanguards, to take majorities down. And they seek to take them down physically, conceptually, legally, philosophically, and in other ways. And they form alliances with like-minded groups that wish to do to majorities what minorities feel that they ought to, because it's a question of survival. This is the future that faces you. Many white people feel bereft because the leaderships that we look to the upper bourgeois tier, the most educated parts of our own society, seem to have left the majority. The elite has gone global, and the traditional brokers of power always seem to be on the side of giving the line away. And that's because in the present day, it suffices and works for you to be on the side that gives away what the past has bequeathed to you. What is happening here and elsewhere in the West is the biggest test that Western people have faced for a very long period. In the past, threats were always perceived as external. Another nation, another dictator, another aggressor, another imperial rival. All of the enemies that we now face are internal. And the biggest enemies that we face are in our own mind. Are the feeling that we shouldn't say this, shouldn't write this, shouldn't speak this, shouldn't think this. We are the people who are taught to be frightened and ashamed of our own views. But there is a natural tendency to kick against the system which is in place, and politically correct liberalism is an enormous target to be attacked. And it is fun to attack it, and it is life affirmative to attack it, and to be opposed by all these po-faced zealots. It's entertaining. And that's one of the things that people have to realise that will attract many people to our side. We are the locomotive of our own destiny. We ourselves will determine what the role the European people have in the United States will be well into the next century. We must not allow other groups to determine it for us.